Hey, what's up, everyone? Rob Dead here, 11th of December. I am getting into the Christmas spirit a little bit. I don't know about you, and I just wanted to talk about something not very Christmassy, spirity. Is you can really die of a broken heart. So I just wanted to start looking into this because people find that fascinating. It gets shared around a lot. It's a real clickbait type article on the internet. And this one was interesting. And I started to think, okay, well, I'm a mind body guy. I need to understand the science behind it and really dig into it, and not just say, oh, you can really die of a broken heart, which I've been hearing since I was born. And my computer is something I wanted to bring into this discussion about it. But my activity monitor is what's going on my computer, and when it starts whirring, it means there's too much going on, and it starts to affect the way the computer works. And I think that's quite interesting analogy for what we're going to be talking about today. Is when there are too many processes running, there's like things start to go glitchy and over stressed, and we're going to be looking at stress. And that word is very I don't like using it because it doesn't really mean anything, but we have an understanding of it in our society. So for some reason, it's this screen record is causing the computer to struggle a little bit, so I hope you don't hear that. I'm going to take that away. So you can really die of a broken heart. So losing a loved one doubles risk of heart disease. That was in the article. I don't know which one it was, Daily Mail, I think. So I wanted to look more into this. So heart attack risk rises after bereavement. And so this study actually found that there was a 21 times more likely to die of a heart attack within a day of being bereaved, which is really quite astounding. So the study was done where they asked people who'd had a heart attack within 1 month or 6 months of the bereavement, or just within the 24 hours, and they found that there was an increase within the longer time period, but when compared to that 24 hours after bereavement, it was a real big increase. So they talk a little bit about how the research was designed, and then they talk a little bit about why they did it. It's long been suggested that it is possible to die from a broken heart, and the researchers said that although most people adjust to the loss of a loved one, it has been observed that there is an increased risk of dying in the early weeks and months after bereavement. This study was particularly interested in whether stress caused by bereavement could affect the likelihood of a heart attack. The researchers thought that grief may affect the heart, as it may be associated with psychological symptoms of depression, anxiety, and anger, and that such stress may have physical effects on the heart. Well, we know anger has an effect on the heart because, well, there's research, but you just need to get angry and your heart rate goes up. Also, that what jumped into my mind was, I think it's 18 months after retirement, there's I think there's a massive increase in dying after retirement. That needs to be kept into the back of the mind, which they don't talk about here, but there's going to be a giving up energy. Like, you're going to think about your life and being alone, and you want to, some people are going to want to check out at that point. They just don't want to continue. So then what does that do to your physical body? If you have that thought, you can feel your internal energy drop, and I'll talk a little bit more about that at the end. So they didn't specify. They couldn't pinpoint the potential mechanisms of why, but they kind of just showed that there was an increase. So they did say that maybe it's just because they didn't take their pills, but they also said that the pills would still be working within the 24 hours after the bereavement. So they stated that that could possibly be a reason. Um, they they did say that. Well, I said, with grief, there's a sort of giving up, which will have an effect on the body, but we'll have to see. Um, I don't have any research on that. Um, yeah, so they did talk about anger there, and they couldn't pinpoint the potential mechanisms that might bring on the heart attack after bereavement. For example, we cannot tell whether it's due to biological causes, such as the release of hormones, or behavioral ones, such as missing medication, although I mentioned that. Among the potential reasons the researchers gave were changes in physical activity and stopping or forgetting heart protective medications such as aspirin. So the reasons they gave were kind of physical. Um, so anyway, I'm not going to comment on that, but that's just how they did that. I also looked at this interesting article because they mentioned anger. The risk of heart attack tripled by exercising whilst angry, study finds. So I thought this was quite interesting. Being very upset or angry more than doubles the risk of a heart attack within an hour, while heavy physical exertion does the same. A worldwide study suggested, but combining the two, such as using extreme exercise as a way of calming down, increases the risk even further. Experts said the study, the biggest of its kind, provides evidence of a crucial link between mind and body. So Dr. Barry Jacobs, the Director of Behavioral Sciences at the Crozer Keystone Family Medicine Residency Program in Springfield, Pennsylvania, said this large, nearly worldwide study provides more evidence of the crucial link between mind and body. However, Maureen Talbot, who's a senior cardiac nurse with the British Heart Foundation, suggests that emotional upset and excessive physical exertion can be triggers for a heart attack. That's interesting, but they're not the underlying causes. So she says the causes of heart attacks are mainly caused by atherosclerosis, the buildup of fatty plaque in the arteries. When plaque breaks off, a blood clot forms, leading to a heart attack. Okay, so again, it's this. They could trigger it, but it's really the physical causing the problem. I think it's much more complex than that. But this is where the research is right now. I looked at this very boring and complicated study, or this research study that was done on anger, and they looked at subliminal triggers given to people on the study, one being anger subliminally given and relaxation, and they found that there were of course different changes in the body depending on anger and relaxation. Anger, there was an increase in blood pressure, etc. But what they did find that people who were high trait anger, so their personality, kind of what they were an angry type of person, they actually became more their thinking process speeded up, whereas other people didn't. It actually had a negative effect. So this is where emotions and personality trait and psychology and how that affects your body, everyone is different. And I tell you, it's so much more complex than that, because one person having one thought, it could affect them, and other people not bothered whatsoever. And then there's other people have different coping mechanisms, and there are many different coping mechanisms. Some people super good at like suppressing, some people can't, some people lie to themselves, some people in denial, some people shut down. So it's just infinitely complex, and I think that's why research, they like to narrow things down, but looking at the macro, looking at the whole thing, which being a dyslexic, I love looking at the whole thing, and going down into the narrow, it kind of, I find it difficult, although I'm trying to do a lot more than that. And I'm also trying to, we're always biased, we have our confirmation biases with everything that we look at, and I'm biased towards the mind affecting the body, and I'm really making an effort to look at the other way of looking at it, and looking more at the research and the data, instead of just going on what I think is happening, because you really need to be looking at the whole picture and the data. yeah, so I found that very interesting. And the I just wanted, this, I wanted to mention the way I look at things is, let's say you have a thought and then you have an emotion based on that thought. So, oh, I can't do this. You have an emotion, let's say you have emotion of worry and fear and kind of sadness, disappointment in yourself. And that creates an action, one inside of you, which is you have a cascade of hormones that have an effect on your cells. And that's something that I'm researching as well at the moment. I'll do more talks on that, which is fascinating. And like positive emotions, positive thoughts and negative thoughts, and how they affect your cells. But that action also has, for me, a weakening effect, which is you're either strong or weak to something, and that you can feel it. You think about a positive thought, you kind of have like it strengthens you, or you have a rising sensation. If you think about an awful thought, it's like an internal collapse, and that's an energy collapse. That's how I look at it. And it sounds very woo-woo, but it's just happening. You just need to feel it and compare the two. So there is this almost a sixth sense going on there, sort of a weakening effect. Yeah, so I've lost my train of thought there, but I find that area very interesting. I think that weakening effect is that's where I work, is what is that weakening effect having on the body, and how can we measure that weakening effect? And I'm not sure, but it's very interesting. Okay, I hope you enjoyed this. I know where it was. When I was talking about internal action, there's also an external action. And what a lot of my clients do is when they have that negative emotion, they don't. That's such an opportunity to find out the truth and to pull the weeds out of that internal garden inside of you. Pull the weeds out that are affecting you to get a beautiful garden. But instead they don't enjoy the emotion. It's an awful emotion. They don't sit with it and find out what it is. And so they mask it by eating chocolate, drinking, marijuana, sex, drugs, like gambling, and it distracts us from that beautiful opportunity. There's always a dragon guarding the jewels, yeah? So it's not comfortable, but it's very, very quick to resolve, I find, with my clients. So when they talk about, I've got a problem with eating, I've got a problem with gambling, I've got a problem with this and that, we always go back to the thought and find the emotion and then clear it. Okay, so I'll leave you at that. If you have any questions or anything about this article, or you'd like to know more about different things to do with the body and the mind, please leave a message below. I'd love to hear from you. And if you like the video, please like it and subscribe. Thanks so much, and I'll talk to you soon.